Allah. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahlihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Okay, so we stopped on page 29. We we got up to the point where it says, "For the thing does not create itself," and we were talking about the attribute of the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, amongst other things. Uh, we talked about a lot, matter of fact. Um, so, as it goes in the text, it says, "As for the verse, Laysa kamithlihi shay'un," that's Surah Ash-Shura. It is the most explicit verse in the Quran in clearing God from all non-befitting attributes. And they have a footnote here. It says, saying that it is the most explicit verse in clearing God from all non-befitting attributes does not mean that it is the best verse in the Quran. Rather, it was mentioned about the verse uh, Al-Qursi that it is the best verse in the Quran. So Ayatul Kursi is the best verse in the Quran. But this particular verse is the one that is most explicit in clearing Allah from resembling the creations or any non-befitting attributes. So it says the meaning of it is that nothing resembles Allah in any way. The letter kaf in kamithlihi is to affirm and emphasize the negation. So kaf literally it means similarity. Okay, in the Arabic language, you know, like how in English we got prefixes that indicates certain meanings sometimes.
Kind of.
Like if I was to say, uh, so and so is pro this, that means they're for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if I say anti this, that means they're against that. Okay, so just like we have that in English, they have something similar in Arabic with sometimes with just letters. Okay, so the kaf when it comes at the beginning of a word and it's not like part of the original word, so it's not part of the root letters. It's like an addition onto the word. It gives the meaning of similarity. But the word mithli also means similar. So it's like saying similar, similar. Okay. And this similar, similar is basically an emphasis because it said lesa, lesa, similar, similar, basically. Okay. So it's emphasizing there's nothing whatsoever. It says the verse contains the meaning that Allah is clear of being attributed with what does not befit him. As for his saying, Wahua Samiul Basir, so that it didn't mention that previously, but that's what comes after. Laysa Kamithi Shay, it's Laysa Kamithi Shay, Wahua Samiul Basir. That's the half of that verse, because actually the verse is even longer than that. It begins before that. It says, this affirms what befits to be attributed to Allah. So it's in the beginning, there's a negation. Laysa Kamithi Shay, okay? This is saying he is absolutely unlike anything whatsoever. Wahua Samil Basir is affirming that he has attributes. Okay? This would be in contradiction to the way that Ibn Taymiyyah interpreted the verse. So Ibn Taymiyyah al-Harani, the which you would say, you know, like grandfather of the Wahhabis, right? He misinterpreted the verse, and I'm gonna give you the exact English translation of what he said in a few seconds. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Post. Let me go into me. Right. Mm, okay. Why is that coming up? Yeah. Okay. So let me rephrase that again or reemphasize. So what the way we interpret this verse, this part of the verse, right? Laysa kamithihi shay wa huwa samiyul basir. We say Allah negated any similarity for himself, but he confirmed that he has attributes. Okay, so he confirmed he has attributes by giving examples of those attributes, but those attributes in of themselves are not like the attributes of the creations because he doesn't have any similarities. Okay, whereas so we have Ibn Taymiyyah said, the exalted said, nothing whatsoever is like him. Thereby he was exalted from resemblance. So he's agreeing with us at that point, right? And and then he says, and he hears and sees, and thus he was likened. Now he's went wrong. So instead of understanding that confirmed Allah confirmed that he has attributes, he's saying that Allah confirmed that he was like something. So then he said, this is the greatest verse in clearing Allah from resembling the creation. That party agrees with us. And then he says, and despite that, it was not devoid of resembling him to others. Now he went against us. So in reality, he's attributing contradiction to Allah Azza wa Jal. So he's saying Allah said that he's unlike anything, but he's really like something at the same time. And to attribute contradiction to Allah is blasphemy. Uh, so it says, hearing is an attribute that befits to be attributed to Allah, and likewise is sight. Uh, I think I skipped something. Let me just go back up. I said the meaning of it is that nothing resembles Allah in any way. The letter kaf in kamithlihi is to affirm and emphasize the negation. The verse contains the meaning that Allah is clear of being attributed with what does not befit him. As for his saying, Wahuwa Samil Basir, this affirms what befits to be attributed to Allah. This second part of the verse means, and he is attributed with hearing and sight. Hearing is an attribute that befits to be attributed to Allah, and likewise is sight. Allah mentioned first in the verse that nothing resembles Allah in any way prior to mentioning that he is attributed with hearing and sight. So no one would misconstrue that the hearing and sight of Allah are like the hearing and sight of others, because Allah is attributed with non-resemblance to anything, whether that thing is among the impalpable creations such as the light, soul, or air, or the palpable creations such as the trees and the human. The impalpable body is what cannot be grabbed in the hand, and the palpable body is what can be grabbed in the hand, i.e., touched with the hand. Allah does not resemble anything in the skies nor anything in the earth. So you got what I'm saying? Hello.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know it was muted. Yeah.
Okay. So the author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, thus Allah is eternal and everything else is originated, and he is the only creator and everything else is a creation. The explanation. The whole universe, with all its generic kinds and individual components, is originated. The philosophers went against this belief. A part of them said the upper universe is eternal with its generic kinds and individual components. Among those was Aristotle, and then Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi followed him. And a part of them said the generic kinds of the universe are eternal without a beginning, and its individual components are originated. Those were the latter philosophers. And then Abu Abbas Ahmed ibn Taymiyyah followed them without ascribing himself to following them. Rather, he deceitfully attributed that to the Imams of Hadith. Okay, so that just said a lot. That's probably going to take up the rest of this class to explain, maybe. So, so basically, what the philosopher said, which is a whole bunch of words that is really nonsense. It's an absurdity. Okay, so a group of the ancient philosophers, they said that the universe as a kind, so that's a thing, okay, and its components were all eternal. That means not created, okay, that they all existed without a beginning. So a group of them said that, and following them in that, so amongst those, I should say, was Aristotle, and following them in that was Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi. So in this explanation, they're mentioning the case of Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi for a reason, because you may run into people speaking about Islamic philosophers, okay? And we say it's permissible to call them Islamic philosophers, but do not think that they are Muslim. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we say that they're Islamic philosophers, is because they are attributed to Islam because they claim to be Muslims. Okay. But because they fell into blasphemous beliefs, they're not Muslims. Okay. So Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi, and there's some other, what you would call famous, quote unquote, Islamic philosophers like Ibn Rushd. These were kuffar. Okay. So Ibn Sina in English, like they Latinized his name. So if you were to run into Ibn Sina being mentioned by non-Muslims, they call him Avicenna. Avicenna. And if you Al Farabi, I think they still pronounce him as Al Farabi. I don't think he's as famous as Ibn Sina. Ibn Rushd, they call him Averroes. Okay, so if you were to run into these characters being mentioned, they say, "Oh, this was a great Muslim thinker and philosopher." We don't confirm their Islam. We say that they went out of Islam because they started adopting beliefs that's outside of Islam because they're confirming something to exist without a beginning other than Allah. Okay, that means this thing wasn't created, so that's making a partner to Allah. That's blasphemy. Um, and so when you get down, you have that uh, the other statement. So another group of philosophers, they said the generic kinds of the universe are eternal without a beginning, and its individual components are originated. So they're saying that, and this still doesn't make sense, but like, so to explain what they're saying, it's like when you say the generic kinds of the universe are eternal, a generic kind of the universe, like they're saying a generic kind of thing. So, example, humanity. So, as if they're saying humanity always existed, but each human is created. Okay, that's the individual component. So each human is created, but humanity always existed. This is like they're saying. So humanity existed without a beginning, but each human is created. That's what they're saying. which makes absolutely no sense. Like Adam was the first human. If humans were always created, then there's no Adam because there's no first human because humans were always created, were always existing. Okay. And in reality, humanity only exists if there is one or more of its kind to make that kind. So to say that each individual is created is confirming that the thing did not exist until the one thing existed. Did that make any sense to you? I know it's a lot of words.
No.
No. Oh, good. It really doesn't make sense, but this is what they're saying. It's hard for me to even explain. It's like I'm explaining absurdity, if that makes any sense to you. Like I'm trying to explain a nonsensical statement. So they're saying that humans always existed, but each human is created. And we negate that because we say the fact that each human is created is proof that humans could not have always existed. And in reality, the only confirmed existence that always is without a beginning is Allah Azza wa Jal and his attributes, which aren't other than him or himself. But okay, so the eternal is eternal and nothing else is eternal along with him. He doesn't have any partners in eternality. Ugh. You understand it now?
Yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. uh, so Ibn Taymiyyah, he claimed this statement, okay, where he said the generic kinds of the universe are eternal without a beginning, and its individual components are originated, okay? And he says, and he used to fake like that he was not influenced by philosophers. Like he spoke out against philosophers like scholars of Ahl Sunnah generally do. So he pretend like, he's against philosophy, but he's drinking from the philosophy himself. Okay. Uh, and then he falsely claimed that the scholars of Hadith said this. So he said, this is the saying of the Ahl Hadith, but he never gives you uh, any Imam from Ahl Hadith. So he comes with this statement that was never said by anybody, any Imam in the religion before, right? And he says the Ahl Hadith said this, and he never gives you uh, an individual with it. And if you look into the writings of the Ahl Hadith, none of them ever said it. Okay, so no, like Ahl Hadith would be like Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik. These Imams, none of them said this statement. So he's lying on the Imams before him in a general way and slipping in this poison to the people. And he's done this in various ways. Like this isn't the only time he does this. He does this with other statements. So it goes on. Imam Badruddin al-Zarkashi said in Tashnif al-Masami' about the two groups. The Muslims deemed them as misguided and as kuffar. So either group of philosophers that said this amongst the ancient philosophers, Ahl Sunnah deemed them as kuffar. Now, Imam al-Zarkashi, he is from after Ibn Taymiyyah, and I don't know if he knew about the statement of Ibn Taymiyyah or not, but he's conveying the ijma' of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. He's one of the big scholars in Creed, and he's conveying the consensus. Ijma' is consensus. And it has this means that both groups are non-believers by the consensus of the Muslims. It says Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned that ill creed, which is that the generic kinds of the universe are eternal without a beginning, and its individual components are originated in 7 of his books. So this is doctrine to him. Like he's teaching this all over the place. He wrote it in 7 of his books. And these books of his, he has a book called Minhaj as-Sunnah an-Nabawiyya, which would mean like the methodology of the prophetic Sunnah. And it's far from that because he's teaching things that's against the methodology of the prophetic Sunnah. When we say prophetic Sunnah, we mean the prophet's example. Hmm. And it says, and in his book, Sharh Hadith al-Nuzul, that's the explanation of the Hadith of descent. And in the book Sharh Hadith Imran bin Hussein, the explanation of the Hadith of Imran bin Hussein. So Imran bin Hussein, he was a companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and he's amongst the awliya that he used to have angels visit him. So he wrote this book allegedly attempting to explain a hadith from Imran bin Hussein, and he put this poison in it. And in the book Naqd Maratib al-Ijma', I don't know exactly what that means. Uh, it, I think it has something to do with jewels of consensus, but I don't know what maratib means. Okay. And in the book Al-Fatawa, so Al-Fatawa, that's a book where he's collecting his alleged so-called fatwas. You know what a fatwa is?
It's familiar.
It's like a religious edict. So a religious verdict is a fatwa. So as you go through this book, you're going to learn a lot of fatwa for the Shafi'i school. When you learn the rulings in the Shafi'i school, you're learning the fatwa. Okay. And in Tafsir Surat al-Ala, so he wrote a book where he's attempting to explain the Surah al-Ala of the Quran. Our Sheikh al-Abdari, rahimahullah, said, I saw that with my own eyes in them. So Sheikh Abdullah al-Harari is also called al-Abdari. It says, saying that the universe is eternal is like denying the existence of Allah. Both are among the enormous kufr, blasphemy. The former, which is saying that the universe is eternal, is denying that Allah created it. And denying the existence of God is more severe, and it is rejection to all revealed laws. For all revealed laws came with the affirmation of the being of Allah. Okay, so all the Sharia taught that Allah exists and that He exists without a beginning and that He created everything. So this is against all religions to claim that anything was eternal without beginning, or to when I say against all religions, I mean against all the previous Sharia. I don't mean like another religion, you know, but previous Sharia. This is not it. So the true followers of Musa and the true followers of Isa would have judged these people as blasphemers themselves. Is what I'm saying. So let me see. How long we've been going?
24 minutes.
Yeah.
Almost 25.
Yeah. I think we're gonna stop here because I gotta pick up somebody, and this is a good place to stop. I don't want to start the next one and then realize I have to take longer than I would be allowed to take. So inshallah, we'll stop here. يهلي لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم رب اغفر لي للمؤمنين والمؤمنات رب اغفر لي للمؤمنين والمؤمنات رب اغفر لي للمؤمنين والمؤمنات